Mum would not allow me to wear long trousers. For the first 2 years I worked in reading store, I was in short trousers.
Really?
Like the school uniform.
Why was that?
Because young
Junior?
men, young men didn't go into long duds till they were about 17 or on their 18th birthday, but they turned manhood.
Okay. It was a rite of passage.
Rite of passage.
Which one are you, Jack?
I'm in there.
He's in there.
I had the tie on.
Oh, you did. You stepped it up.
I've been working in the mercery department at that stage. It's Lily Bull, I worked with Lily, my sister, Claire. Who's that one there? Alongside.
That's Betty Flowers, I think. 1 minute. I knew nearly all of them.
Yeah, my sister Ellen.
Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah, Betty Flowers. There's Tossie McKinnon.
Where's
Tossie?
Tossie? Yeah, oh right, God, she didn't change much.
No.
That
must be Mr. and Mrs. Reading there.
Yeah, that was grandmother Reading, I think.
Was it?
Fred Reading,
Yeah,
that was my grandmother.
Yeah.
Heavens. The main area was the grocery, and then as you go out just past the back counter, there was a passageway, and that's where you'd weigh up all the sugar, because those days you'd open up a 60-pound bag of sugar, pour it into a big type of vat,
that's right.
and then you'd pre-bag it, £2, £3, £6, and we would have a little competition. There was Harold Blewett used to work with me, and you'd have competition, whether it's sport or whatever you're doing, and to see how many scoops, and when you'd put it on the scale, whether you had to add to it or take some out. And we would have a real duel, and it was surprising. It was surprising how close you got to it.
Yes.
And then, speaking of the sugar, I can remember a funny incident. Joe Ryder was up the back of the manager of the produce store, and all the 70-pound bags of sugar would be delivered there. So when the vat would get empty, and the vat was probably from here to those scales long, so it was you take 2 or 3 bags of probably take 3 or 4 bags of sugar, and we would go up and we had this contest of who could carry the most bags down. It was quite funny actually. There was the loading dock in front of the produce store, and I said to Joe Ryder, I said, Joe, give me 1 for each hip I can carry home, and I said, if I lean forward, put one on my shoulder, so we got 4 bags on it. And there was no problem. We could carry 4 bags, and both of us walked up the little 1 step at the back. Anyhow, on the next occasion, we just said, well, look, we've got to find out who can carry the most bags of sugar, and as well as put one just on your hip, on your arm like that, and then 1 on your shoulder. I said, I'll tilt forward and I'll put 1 across the back. I said, that'll be the 5th one, so you're carrying a big weight at a time. And it was okay walking down from the produce store, but there was 1 step, and then Hal couldn't lift. And I said, what's wrong with you? And I couldn't get my feet off the ground with the sheer weight. So there was about 6 bags of sugar all on the ground. We shook hands and we said, we're even. Who's in here now?
Yeah. I'll introduce you.
Oh God, amazing. Well, they would still be the original boards. I used to remember going around door to door saying, grocer, you'd be on a push bike. And I got round this street just over the railway line, and there was a Mrs. Virtue, lovely old lady, and she was the mother of a very noted pilot during the War, not the World War, it'd be the 39-45 war. Keith Virtue, one of the early aviation guys. And Mrs. Virtue said to me, Jack, I need 4 gallons of kerosene. And I said, okay. I said, I'll put it on the order. And I said, when we deliver this afternoon, we'll pick up your empty drum and we'll deliver it to you on Friday. Oh, she said, Jack, I'll freeze in the meantime. She said, I just can't stand the cold. Oh, I said, well, wouldn't normally do it, but I said, I'll take your drum with me. And I said, we'll deliver it this afternoon. So I had a push bike, and I remember it quite well. The brake had broken on it, and instead of having the handlebar brake, we would take the cable off it and put a milking machine rubber on this over the wire, and hook it around the stem of the front of the steering part of the bike. Anyhow, I got the drum this way on the push bike, and I'm going at the back street. I think it was Campbell Street. Is it Campbell Street?
Yeah.
Campbell Street, and it runs real steep down towards the railway line, then it turns and becomes Keith Street.
Keith Street's up there too.
Anyhow, as I turned the corner on the push bike with this 4-gallon drum in the front of the handlebar, I'm gathering speed, and here am I trying to get my hand to the milking machine rubber that pulled me up. Bang, I didn't achieve it. No. I hit the fence that ran along the railway line. The drum and I went through and over the fence. The bike went back so far, and I got to Mrs. Virtue on that Monday afternoon with the 4-gallon drum of Kara. I said, well, it's the first and last time I'll ever do that. I said that the bike, the drum, although I said the bike went backwards, the drum and I went over the fence. And she said, but I won't be cold, she said.
That's all that matters.
I would leave that shop and I'd start to do this section. I'd come down here, up the back here, and then I'd go up Granville Road. And then after a couple of hours, I must have been old enough then when I'd get to Connolly's Hotel.
Oh yeah, to have a drink.
I would go in and get an order, and I used to think, well, it might help getting a better order if I'd have a drink. So I'd get back and I'd take the little notebook into my handwritten orders out. For you, and sometimes you'd have a piece of loose paper there already, and the name would be on it. And I would go into the shop, hand it to Russell Blanche at that stage, or Merv Blanche, and they would start working on those orders. We were delivering a horse and cart in those days. So
what would that have been?
I would have thought if I joined in, what did I say, 28, 38, 43, that would have been around the early 50s.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And electricity was in by then?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh,
we
some
had
places,
electricity. But probably another thing, I'm jumping from one thing to another.
But the kerosene was for heating. The kerosene was heating.
Yeah, with the heating and the lights, the Aladdin lamps.
Yeah.
We had the Aladdin lamps. I'm not sure what age the electricity was here. It'd probably been in the town, but it wasn't out where I was living there. Yeah. And Archie Arnold, he was the son of a guy that had the blacksmith. Yeah. And Archie used to love doing it. He'd have this horse, and normally he'd do it on a slope, and he'd pull back on the reins, and the horse's hind quarters would almost go from underneath him. I said, God, Archie, he said, I don't want to be killed doing this job. I said, it's all right for you, you can hold the reins, I'm going to hold them nothing. And he used to do it time and time again, but he just knew how quickly to pull off that horse.
He was a character,
and then the big deal when we got the first utility, a guy by the name of Albie Race drove it, and mainly to do the country runs, but then occasionally if he was back, we'd throw the thing in the ute and we'd be back around a very short time to the deliveries. It was one of the first Holdens, I think, but it was type of a van. It wasn't just an open, it was big breakthrough. I can remember that Jim McLean, certainly, and his photos in that group, I'll point out there. Jim McLean said, Jack, he said, that you're really going to work hard at the end of this month. He said, we do our stock take. He said, one of your jobs will be to count the boiled lollies. And they used to have these big 7-pound tins of boiled lollies. Well, they were in a shelf at various stuff. And I don't know whether they ever got around it. But he said, luckily, he said, it's worse still. He said, when you go over there, he said, you're starting to do a bit of work in the mercery shop. He said, they got to count the pins. Because every year you had to do the stock take on the 30th of June, I think, someplace. But then there was another thing that was a tough job in those days, was keeping all the coupons. Most things were rationed,
in the ration.
tobacco was rationed, and the guys would think a big deal if they got red branches to up the packs. And most of the people were smokers in those days, and they would get the tins of Capsicum, I think was a brand or a different brand. But then with the butter, you had to have a coupon to buy butter or sugar. Sugar was rationed also too.
Okay.
And then I can recall at the end of the day, you'd have all these, you'd just take the coupons, you'd throw them into a little container, like a sugar bowl or something.
Yeah, they're about that square, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right, little like a half the size of a stamp, postage stamp. And they had them at £2 to a pound of butter because you could buy a half a pound and it allowed you to use one coupon. And at the end of the day, you had a special sheet, and there was £56 in a box of butter.
Yeah, that's right.
But because there was some leeway for gaining £3 or £4 each time you presented the 56 to get a pound of butter, I think you had to put 52 stamps on this leaf. And I would walk across from the store down the main street there, cross the railway line with a basket in my hand, and I would give a Albert Cook, was it Albert Cook?
No, Gilbert, Jack's mother.
Yeah, what was his Christian name again?
Gilbert.
Gilbert Cook. He was the manager of the Norco Depot, and as such, you'd give him this whole sheet of stamp, and if I couldn't carry the £56, and I would carry probably 15, 20 or 30 pound of butter back across the railway line in just the old cane basket. Well, and then he'd make a note of it. I'd purchase the box of butter.
And remember, with those coupons, if you didn't smoke, you could swap them to a smoker, and he mightn't eat butter, and we used to swap them out, possibly.
They probably did.
What year would that have been?
I'm trying to think
just after the war, just after the war.
Things got a bit scarce.
Oh, there was lots of things.
Early 40s?
Well, I know that.
Early 40s. I was born in 38, so
even some of the clothing items.
And they were all different colours, weren't they, for different things?
I can't remember the coupons sure well.
Green, and they'd swap them, exchange.
Thanks for your time.
Lovely to meet you. Good to see you again.
Wonder will they keep the name up on the top?
I hope so.
Even though it's got,
I liked how they.
Hello. It's okay to come in. I'm one of the original readings, and we're just doing a bit of a story on that.
Nice to meet you. I'm Chloe.
Chloe, is it?
Yes.
Hi, Chloe.
And I'm Catherine.
Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Nice
And we were trying to work out where the old safe was in Reading Store, and we wanted to get a photo. I started working when I was 14 years of age, and two of my sisters worked in the office around here, and there used to be a trolley. Probably that's the hole in the wall. Yeah, that'd be where it came around, probably. That hole there, bound to be, because the track used to come around. Well, there's one there. One was probably coming one way. There was two different lines. I will bet they are the old.
There's some down the bottom
when
there
people
too.
paid by cash around on the main counter, they would put them in a container about probably bigger than that, but that size, and they put the dockets and the cash in it, and then they'd put them in this chute, and there was a chute of air would send them up, and then there was a track that was sloped down to where they sat upstairs. It was a spiral staircase where my sisters worked. And there was only one of them, and then she'd take the cash out, look at the docket, and return the change, and then it would go back down through another one, and you'd hear it drop down, and you had customers waiting there to get their change. It was just as easy to walk around probably through another department. It's okay to come in here, is it?
Yeah, of course,
Thank you.
I was just trying to see if there's a...
it's there.
No, there's nothing. Unless... No, that wouldn't be it. But the old safe, where was the concrete? Oh yeah. Look at the big. Look at the hinges
look
in
at
it.
that.
Yeah, and it opened up in the centre, and they had a combination lock in it. And I recall that Claire and Ellen, the two of my sisters that worked there, they would have access to it, and they would put the documents and money in it.
Oh God.
Yeah. And at that stage, I think that my uncle, he worked somewhere just in that corner, and there was another one.
Is that cement or timber?
Oh, no, it's
Cement.
solid cement. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
yeah. No, well, just there it looked a bit
cracked
timber
there.
looking, and I thought it might
No.
be timber.
Gee,
Oh my God! Look at the size of it.
yeah. It'd be interesting to see the old doors on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they'd be gone a long time, wouldn't they?
But things have just flashed back to me today. Terry said, "Oh, just tell me some of the incident."
It brings back memories.
And I'm 90 now,
Wow.
and it's just still
Yeah,
it's
it's-
He's 91 next week.
Yeah. Oh no, happy birthday for next week.
I don't.
He lived over Rifle Range Road. You know where the dump was, the tip, what
Yep,
used to be.
yeah. Well, that's where
they owned that farm.
Readings used to take their horses at night.
Oh, really?
After they came back late afternoon, they would feed them here with a little bit of chaff, etc., and then they would have them just loose, and they'd take all the horses up to. Grandmother Daly lived just down past the church here.
Yeah, that's right.
And you'd hear these horses starting, and they take them up.
really?
And they all had the slaughtering
Yeah,
yards.
well, that's
Yeah.
where
They slaughter their own meat.
that's where Matt was
Rifle
read.
Lane.
Rifle Range Road, yeah.
Yeah,
And they,
I remember that.
and you'd see them bring the beef from there, and some of them were the cattle that came off the farm that had finished their milking period.
Yeah.
Then they had better prime steaks. that was for the stewing meat. And
No T-bone, no
you'd,
Jack.
and you'd see Ernie Foster. He'd have a leather jacket on, and he'd have a whole side of beef coming out of
Yeah, weren't they
that.
strong?
Yeah, see that door didn't.
That's original
yeah.
because that's original lining there, all that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they wouldn't have a door
It
near
would
the
have
safe,
been
Jack.
It would have been behind that was the work area that I was saying where
Yeah.
we make up the bags of sugar and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
See,
that was
I'd
where
be
the main groceries
see,
were.
we're back
weren't
here. This would be the original
they? Yeah,
floor.
that's original floor.
It's hard to believe. It's 1891. That's 10. It's 110. It's 130 years old. I can recall when I was there, probably. I'm not sure what age I was still in short trousers. Mum and Dad wouldn't allow me to go into long trousers till I was 17. That was a rule. Yeah. Well, and I would clean the windows with Bon Amy, and Uncle Fred, he wouldn't have much to say. I don't know whether he was real over fond of my performance, and he'd come out and he'd just look at his watch. He wouldn't say a word, and he'd more or less say, "How much are the windows?" And on one occasion he's there, and he said, "Oh, you only done that?" And I said, "Yeah, but I've sold a few things in the meantime, because if somebody stopped, I'd try to sell them something." Yeah. And on one occasion, it's still coming back to me, we had Jansen swimwear. We couldn't buy the quantity we wanted. You were sort of rationed to a point on your sales. So I couldn't say I want 20 pairs of trunks. They allocated a figure to you, and I thought, well, I'll do it. We didn't have any models to do framework, and most of the things you just put a shirt on tight in the centre and hang it from the ceiling. Anyhow, I got this idea we had extra Jansen goods, and it was summer. I thought I'll do it a beach display. So I talked Mum and Daddy into going down to Byron Bay, and I got the bags of sand, the ocean sand, and I spread the window, probably the big centre one. It was double. That was the drapery thing, and the groceries on one side. And I had this small. Probably it would be about from that door. So that would be about the size of a window, and it was probably 6 to 8, 10 feet wide. So I put all this sand on the floor, and I put beach towel on it, and I put the swimwear on it, and I don't know for what reason I tried to feature a turning light, and to make it look like a lighthouse. And it didn't work real well. but however, it was interesting the amount of people that were attracted to this display. And at that stage, Uncle Fred asked me would I do a window display course. And I said, okay, and I don't think I did put much effort into it, but and I apparently had a little bit of a flair when it came to doing displays, because I had this beach umbrella with I think I even put a pair of ladies swimmers in there, just to make it a real beach. Okay, girl. Lovely meeting up with you. You
Yeah,
see
that
that,
must
that iron's rusted through again. Look
Yeah.
it up there. And I used to always be amused. A person would come in about your building and say, I want a Cobra hat. And I'd just say, okay, what greys or fawns? And I'd say, you'll take 6 and 7/8. And nearly everybody wore 6 and 7/8. And then if a man was a bit bigger, I will start looking at trying on size 7.
Yeah.
And then if you really had a big head, it was 7 1/8 or 7 1/4. And at the finish they say, gee, you do well to judge our size. I didn't tell them 99 out of 100 more about that size.
Yeah.
Same as an athletic singlet. When they come in and they say, oh, bonds, and there was only one brand, bonds,
Yeah.
and you didn't work out the price from the invoice, there was a little round tag, 2 and 10pence.
2 and 10pence.
2 and 10pence on it, so,
Yeah.
and then you say, oh, you'd take a 38, so you get down to 38 and you'd hold it up and say, yeah, that's my size, and a bit bigger, 40, and they'd say, how can you judge? No, and once again, 9 out of 10 would buy
We're
the
gonna be
38 or
that
40.
size,
So I left Bangalow on the reading store on the 8th of the 10th, 55, and my wages for that short period. Then I joined Australian National Airways on the 12th to the 10th.
One, two, three.
Well, how about that, eh? Do I get a cuddle after about 60 or 70?
After about 50, 60 years.
Oh, great
Good
to
to see
see
you.
you. It's great to see you.
Oh, yes. To Leonard's coming back. When we were at school, many long years ago, we were a bit keen on each other.
I can remember slipping a little note in a book and passed it back to her.
And I had curly hair and he used to pull it at the back.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
Never mind, they were good memories.
And my word, they were. And I
I
said,
hope you haven't had that on.
No.
oh yeah.
It's all good.
I know your hair's looking good. The last time I was here, there must have been some special occasion on, because Frank Scarballotti was alive at the time, and there must have been the old football team came back and had the Royals there, and I can recall I came down, I wasn't involved in it anyway at all, other than I played football with the Bangalow boys, and they ran out onto the team to have their first game after many, many years being taken out, and they had Frank Scarballotti kick off. He had the Bangalow.
I was here. Yeah,
He
I was
was-
here. My two boys
And
played.
the ball just landed below the crossbar.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
never
yeah,
never
yeah.
forget that. I forget what
In the
age he was.
90s.
He was 90.
Yeah.
He lived to,
No, that happened
I
in the
remember
90s.
that.
about
he lived to
90.
109 and
Yeah.
10 months. I called there at Little, when I was down at Crescent Heads for a holiday just a few weeks ago, and coming back I had a comfort stop at Little Italy, and after having a coffee I walked in, and the first photo I caught was Frank Scarballotti.
Oh, that's right. He was
and,
Italian descent.
And he had said he lived to 109 and 10 months. But Dad had a wonderful saying, and I still say it to people. Somebody might, Terry will appreciate this comment. Somebody might say something to you and you ignore them, or you don't answer. And they'll say, you didn't, and I said, well, as a matter of fact, I said, I still remember what my dear old dad said to Mum, and it registered with me. Mum was in the kitchen and trying to cook dinner after working on the farm, and Dad comes in tired and he's sitting there reading the newspaper, and they must have been having a little bit of a domestic. Mum said, George, you're completely ignoring me. Something. This is and Dad's answer said, Jean, the timing's not right. So he said, what's said can never be unsaid, and what's not said can be said at any time at all. And I think it is such a beautiful term.
Can I ask you, when you left Bangalow, how old were you?
about 26, 27.
What you do is that you still worked at Readings, didn't you?
Up till then, yeah.
Up till
Yeah,
then.
because I've got the group certificate. I was showing Terry.
Yeah.
I've got the group certificate that Uncle Fred signed up till the 8th of October, from the 1st of July to the 8th of October.
What year?
55. And then I've got the ANA from 2 days later. So from the time I left Bangalow, and I remember driving this little Austin A40, and Mum and Dad were still waving to me when I went around the hills at Newey Bar.
Dad used to play
Yeah, I've enjoyed reminiscing. I probably reminisce more today than I have for years.
Funny, you
Thanks,
know,
Terry.
No, that's
you
fine,
must,
Jan.
you must be
You must be sick
God.
of us.
No, not at all. I think it's wonderful that you can, you know, even at 90,
You know,
91,
things
sort of,
that you forget about,
Yeah, but
and then you start talking.
and then they come
It's
back.
marvellous how it all comes back though.
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky.
People sharing stories.